It's crazy. It's already Friday. It's the last episode of the week. I know we're all sad. No episodes over the weekend. But if you see the comments that I make from my personal YouTube, I'll have some Red Sox updates over there over the weekend. Quick, if you'd like that. And of course, you can follow me, Mike Antonellis, all over social media at the Radio Mike as well. I love doing the TikTok. You can find me over there. But feel free to reach out and connect on my other socials. So it is a Friday edition of Red Sox Now. The Red Sox were off yesterday, as always, presented by Fan Arch right here on the tube. The Woo Sox, who I do the games for, radio and TV. I'll be back with them next week. I've got 2 TV games, including a Friday night game with JP Ricciardi, which I always enjoy. And last time we did this, if you have questions for JP, I will ask him on the air live, no prep, and we'll get some answers because he's got great insight being a former general manager. The Woo Sox, by the way, won in a big slugfest last night. They hit a bunch of home runs. David Hamilton, Christian Campbell, Nate Eaton. They had a bunch. Double A Portland had a walk-off error. You know, the teams below, they've got some prospects as well. Luis Perales is a guy that we might see pitch in the big leagues at some point. He's been hurt and been an A-ball. So, all right, we'll get the Friday show underway. We need you. We're close to 1,500 subscribers. I said the goal, the number. I used the baseball number that I want to get to before the last Red Sox game. So that could be the World Series. If we can get to 3,000 for 3,000 hits, that'd be great. So if you could do that, subscribe to the channel, please. Leave your amazing comments. We had a ton yesterday. We'll get to those. And if you could like and share, we appreciate that. Yeah, I'm rocking a baseball hat. I got this is from my 2020 stint with the Paw Sox. Yeah, I worked for the Paw Sox in 2020 when we had no season. I served as a waiter on the field. We served food at McCoy. We called those inter-squad games. Remember that when they had the taxi squad? You can hear my voice, by the way, on the Red Sox documentary when they showed Duran hitting a home run at an empty McCoy. That's me on the call. So got that, but one of my favorite places in Massachusetts, Manchester by the Sea. I don't think I could afford to live in a garbage can in Manchester by the Sea, but it's not that far from where I am in Central Mass. Love it there. Absolutely beautiful, a slice of heaven. I do day trips in New England. I'm not afraid. I don't need to stay the night at the hotel. I can do a 2-hour back and forth. But yeah, I figure I'd do that. We're going to rock different hats. No baseball yesterday for the Red Sox, but I want to quickly get to the standings, which I think are so interesting. Cleveland just keeps holding on. They won. The Marlins are coming from Cleveland, by the way. Do people realize that you have the 2 Ohio teams? Cleveland and Cincinnati are a half game behind the New York teams. How amazing would that be? Cleveland and Cincinnati. Not high payroll teams. And this is what I've tried to talk to people about this. I mean, we're still obsessed with spending, which I don't think spending is the end-all, end-all. Milwaukee's got 76 wins. They don't spend a lot of money. Cincinnati, Cleveland, they don't spend a lot. If spending worked like 100%, I'd be all for it. But what the Mets have spent, and they're only a half game over Cincinnati, is why owners say, well, why are we spending all this? Take the Dodgers out of it. They're a different breed. But I don't think every single way that you build is right either. Just because Milwaukee doesn't spend, I don't think that means the Red Sox can operate like that. Everybody's different. But it just shows that there's no – this given in this game is really bonkers at times. The Yankees have been missing some guys. We know that. But still, their expectations are way up here. The fact that Cleveland and Cincinnati, and I love that Francona is managing the Reds, and oh, man, do I want them to get in the playoffs. The Dodgers have really been struggling. I mean, a lot of teams that have really hit some skids around baseball. But I find it pretty cool that the Ohio teams are half game back. The Red Sox start a game and a half ahead of Cleveland for that final spot. For a lot of you that said to me it didn't matter, those wins didn't matter against the bad teams, they do. They do. It matters, right? I mean, if you didn't play great against those bad teams, you could be 3 or 4 games out. They all matter. Doesn't matter who you're playing. You gotta stop with that. Like, this is the hard game. I mean, they're all hard. There's no such thing as easy either. Maybe easier, right? You know, there's definitely that. You're not facing the arms that you do in some series, but it's not. It's still Major League Baseball. We still can't. Sometimes we just throw it out like, oh, schedule's cake. I think, yeah, when you're playing Colorado and in Washington, yeah. But Washington beat Philly last night. See, not a peep. Not a peep out of that. Washington won 2 in a row over Philly. You're not going to hear that at all on social media. You won't hear that. It happens. It's mainly, for me, the arms. You can face a bad team with good arms. So the Marlins, they have been pretty good pitching-wise, and we'll get to a stat next. They've been, since July 1st, they're 21-18. They can pitch. Alcantara that's gone tonight, he has been like this. He has had some real good outings. He's had some real bad. So you hope you can take advantage of that. You got Giolito on the hill. I like a lot of their guys. Stowers is really good. Ramirez, Xavier Edwards I like. They got a pretty good club. I think for everything that's gone on with them, for them to be 58-63 is actually not bad. They're 6 out of a wild card. They'd have to go on a crazy run, but I think a lot of people thought the Marlins would be kind of looped in with the Washingtons and the Colorados. I mean, they're having a better year than Atlanta. That's kind of crazy to think of that. So this won't be a cakewalk. We want it to be. I would want it to be. You got Bayo against Cal Control on Saturday. He's been okay. Bayo's your guy. And then on Sunday, the day game, you got Crochet against Jansen Junk. I love that name. He's been pretty good. 6-2 with a 4.06 ERA. So it's set up nicely where you have your 3 guys going in the series and you return home. And these are the series you have to win. In kind of contradicting myself, which I do often. The games, we're all smart enough to know that there's no gimmies, but you really don't want to lose this series, right? I mean, these are series you got to win. So 2 out of 3 is what I'm expecting, and this is what I'm hoping. Do you guys know, and gals, sorry, I don't want to ever leave, guys, I say general, but it should be guys and gals, the top 2 ERAs in the major leagues since July 1st. Do we know this? If you said Milwaukee, you're right. You're half right. The top ERA. And I think this is where some people have maybe been a little unfair to the Red Sox because we do live in it day by day and we do overthink, which is fine. The top ERA in baseball since July 1st belongs to your Red Sox. They're 24-12 since July 1st, which is the second best record in baseball behind the Brewers, who are 29-7 with a 3.17 ERA. The third best ERA in baseball since July 1st, San Diego. Not surprising at 3.33. Then it's Texas 3.41, Seattle 3.52, the Guardians 3.54, Cincinnati 3.63. Then it's the Phillies. So 3, 4. The top 8 teams, let's put the Athletics, the Cubs, and the Marlins. The top 11 in ERA since July 1st all have over 500 records. Interesting how that works, right? And then you go right to the teams over 4, under 500, under. Yeah. Pretty much everyone else is under with the exception of the Royals and the Blue Jays. Everyone else who's got an over 4 ERA since July 1st is under 500. I know I exhaust the pitching thing. But when we go on and on and on about the lineup, about we got to, this week it's this guy we want out, And I say, no, it's starting pitching, It is. At the end of the day, it's all that matters. You have to, you can compensate on some offense if you pitch better. And the Red Sox have, considering some inconsistencies from 3 through 5 and from everybody, 3.09 ERA. What does that tell you for the rest of the league? The Mets at 4.45 since July 1st. The Dodgers are over 4. The Yankees are over 5. The Tigers are near 5 since July 1st. These are some teams that, there's some really good teams in there. Even Toronto. Now, Toronto's, I think it's misleading because they're 25-13 since July 1st. I have to assume a 4.26 ERA in that span. They had to have had a couple of games where they gave up like 10 or more runs. Because 12 over 500 with an ERA north of 4 usually means, and you can, honestly, you could, for some of the good teams, you could probably do the same thing and say, hey, they got a bunch of zeros and then a couple of 8s. Yeah. But the Red Sox and Brewers, top 2 ERA since July 1st, top 2 teams in baseball since July 1st. It really goes hand in hand. So you want to know about the hitting. Okay. Toronto is at 292 since July 1st. That's first. Then it's Milwaukee, San Diego, Boston. So Boston's a top 4 offense, batting average, since July 1st. They have scored the 3rd most runs in the game since July 1st. The top 3, Milwaukee, Toronto, Boston. You know who else is in there? The Athletics, top 5. Atlanta's in there. The Angels are in there since July 1st. A lot of runs, bad records, but interesting. Milwaukee and Boston have dominated a lot of things since July 1st. It's pretty cool to see. I had no, at one point the Marlins, we talked about this on an episode. They had the best ERA since June 29th, like in the middle of 3rd week of July, and they're plummeted. So they were at one point when they were winning a lot of games, they were really pitching. So what are the realistic expectations? I know the schedule is lighter, but it still doesn't matter to me. There's still division games. I know Baltimore's not great. They're not horrible. They've played a lot better probably in the last couple of months. I know you get the Marlins, but you still have Baltimore a couple times. In New York, you have road series. So for the rest of August, like I said yesterday, and if you don't agree, you let me know. Are you expecting more of an 11-5, 12-4 rest of the month? I'm not. I'll take 10-6. I'm trying to be realistic. 2 road series. I take that. 10-6 get you 76 and 62. I still eye that 90 wins. I'm looking at things as a bigger stretch. But are you expecting more? Now, if the Red Sox can do something crazy here with weaker competition and go 13-3, something like that, they have a chance to separate, especially with the Yankees on there. That Yankee series is going to be huge. Cleveland for the rest of the month, they got Atlanta at home. And they're playing. Cleveland's a team no one's talking about. They swept the Mets, took care of business at Chicago against the White Sox, took care of business against the Marlins. Now they've got Atlanta at home. Then they're at Arizona, at Texas, Tampa, and Seattle at home. And then, this is great, the first series of September, they're at Fenway. I like how the schedule kind of works out. Then they've got Detroit twice in September. The schedule is really cool down the stretch. So let me know your expectations. And let's get to those amazing comments from Thursday. They were always great. At Austin Ferris 2155, if Campbell is truly the second baseman of the future, he needs to develop. Who knows what the roster is going to look like next year anyways. True. Maybe Cora is letting trade chips play right now to increase the return they'll get this offseason. So here's what I'm confused about. I think what we do is we look at if Campbell didn't have that contract, we would be looking at this through a completely different lens, right? I would too. But when you have that deal, you're already kind of factoring, like Austin said, that he's in their plans. But he played left field on Thursday night, which I thought was weird. So that leads me to believe they're not going to call him up to play first base. And the more I thought about it after yesterday, because I was talking about a hard no, everyone wants him called up to play first, but he's not even playing first base every day. He's been playing first and second, which I think is really weird. So now that he's playing lefts, if they truly thought that was an avenue, he'd be playing first base every single inning. So the fact that he's playing lefts could still mean that he's one of the call-ups as a utility guy. I don't really like him in the outfield. But again, if we do this, when does he play? Sparingly? When they have a big lead? Is he just up there? It could be, but if you're still trying to win games, well, you're going to be, right? Because you're still going to go for the division. You have got to have your best 28 players. Not we committed to, we committed to a guy, we see him as a few. It's now. The way you play the games now are not how you do it earlier. This is all about winning. And they could say, well, he gives us our best chance. I don't think as a bench guy that would make any sense because he's not truly refined defensively because he hasn't played a lot yet. We forget that he barely played in college and high school. He didn't play a lot of baseball, and he doesn't have a lot of baseball under his belt. So that's an interesting development last night. We'll see. I would rather, for that extra player, have Nate Eaton, Nick Sogard, or even David Hamilton. I know none of you like that, but Nate Eaton would be the guy for me. He can do everything. He can play and he's now playing everywhere in the diamond. He played short last night. He can play every single position. He's got the best arm on the team, probably. He's an elite runner. He's hitting close to 290 with a lot of home runs. He has big league experience. That is what I would want. Someone that's already kind of been there. But this is really interesting to see. And I'm not, I know it's going to sound like I'm coming off like I don't like Christian Campbell. That's not, I do. I actually really like him. I definitely think, I'm talking about with 40 games left in the big leagues, it's not time for reclamation. It's not, let's see what happens here. No. It's where feelings get hurt. Von Grissom, we're trying to win divisions in playoff games. It's not let's see if this is going to, even with like Sandlin and Tolley, you can't put those guys up there if you're not 110% confident that they can do that. You just can't. This is not the time of year to do that. I know it happens, right? I know like that teams have done it. Like I know about the David Price and all that and Finnegan. I know about all that. But that worked for those teams. It might not work for these teams. Now, it's interesting. Criswell worked as a reliever last night. That didn't go great. So, I don't know what his future is, but it's going to be fascinating to see who is the extra two guys September 1st. And I think they're maybe still trying to decide that through competition. And this is a guy I like, Smoke Dog 19821. How is Nick Sogard doing this season? Fantastic. He plays switch hitter. He's got a little pop. He can run. But the way he plays defense at a position he hasn't played all week fascinates me and blows us all away. He'll play shortstop once a week and play it like he's been playing there every day. He's been to the big leagues. He doesn't get overwhelmed. He has long at-bats. I think he's an option too. He's been great. I know his average is probably not what people... they're going to look at his average. But I honestly can't do that because I watch the guy play every day. He's got 58 walks in 79 games. He walks a lot. He can run a lot of doubles. And that's a good utility guy. At Richard Beatty, 8793. Hicks is frustrating because he has top-notch stuff and he's gotten better, but for some reason he hasn't put it together. Yeah, I said this to some people yesterday. I don't. Well, first of all, I think when he became a starter, that really, he's not been good since. Those years with St. Louis and Toronto were really good, but he wanted to get paid, and I get it. That's what, Clay Holmes, Michael King, Whitlock did it. Daniel Bard did the same thing. Trust me on this one. I know Daniel Bard's agent. Well, I know players that have his agent, and they all said that Bard wanted the money. He wasn't making any money being an eighth inning guy. You got a big deal. I get it. Oh, that's not right. Oh, I know, but you got to see it from their careers. The money you make as a fifth starter without really being that good is crazy. And I'm not saying that's the only reason. I don't know him. But he made a lot more money as a starter. All of them are. Holmes, King. You're seeing more guys doing that. It's not just because of that. Some is because they were traded. Like King, the Yankees didn't think he was a starter. They were wrong on that, and he was able to do it. But he just hasn't been the same pitcher since. He's gotten older, too. But, yeah, it is frustrating. And I don't think the Red Sox would be afraid at all down the stretch here. They're not going to care that they traded Devers for him. They'll move guys out. Like, they're not going to say, oh, well, we got to keep him up here because we traded for him. They might do that earlier in the year, but they're not going to do that now. So, hey, that's it for the week. We could talk all weekend on here. If you leave your comments, we'll talk Red Sox Marlins all weekend. I'll respond to them. If you see the icon that's Red Sox Now, that's our team responding. They're fantastic. Be nice to them. I know you will. So thank you for watching Red Sox Now here, presented by FanArch on a Friday. Have a great weekend. Let me know your weekend plans. Stay safe. Watch a lot of baseball and go Sox.